right, welcome to the High Fidelity TV podcast. I'm your host, Joseph No, and I am here with my co-host, Edwin Lee.
Hey, Joe. Good to be back.
Thank you, Edwin. And before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you, Edwin, for providing us with a venue to record our podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can't see us, but we are recording in Edwin's apartment. He's nice enough to host us, and I just can't thank you enough, Edwin. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine.
So, we are a high fidelity podcast. We're just going to be talking about High Fidelity, the TV show, which is streaming on Hulu right now. And this is episode 5, which we're going to be talking about the episode Uptown. Episode 5, Uptown. But before that, I wanted to let you guys know where you can find our past episodes. And you can find us at highfidelitytv.wordpress.com. You can email us at highfidelitytvpodcast@protonmail.com. And you can follow us on our Instagram at highfidelitytvpodcast. All right, so before we get into the episode recap, we're going to be recapping episode 5. So there will be spoilers for that episode, but we will not be spoiling future episodes beyond episode 5. So before that, I wanted to, this being a high fidelity podcast, we're not going to do another top 5, so don't worry about that. However, I wanted to do something fun and present to both of us a 10-question trivia contest based on questions from music related or high fidelity, movie or TV related content. And then, so I will be presenting Edwin with 10 questions, and Edwin will present me with 10 questions that he has formulated and which none of us have seen. And then the winner of said trivia contest, say I get 5 correct and Edwin gets 6 correct, Edwin wins. So the winner, I thought would be, and you guys listening can play along as well. I thought that would be fun. But I wanted to get our listeners' input as well to see what we should do for the winner. I presented that the winner choose an album or EP for the loser to listen to, and we can both talk about it on the next episode. Or you guys, Edwin presented the fact that the winner can choose the next top 5 category to, like, topic of a top 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you guys. What do you guys think we should do? Should the winner pick an album for the loser to listen to, or should the winner pick a top 5 list? And you guys can email us at the High Fidelity TV Podcast at protonmail.com, or maybe slide in our DMs at High Fidelity TV Podcast. Edwin, do you want to read your questions?
Sure.
For the trivia contest?
So my questions will be a mix of high fidelity movie and TV show questions, music questions, the world of vinyl and records. So here we go. Question number 1. In the movie, what you remember, a guy was trying to buy an album and Barry is giving him a hard time about it. What album is the guy trying to buy, but Barry won't sell it to him?
Oh. Okay. Well, I'm not going to answer them now. We're going to answer the questions in the next episode. But I'm just thinking in my head, I'm probably not going to get this. But please continue.
Okay. Question 2. Since this is a Zoe Kravitz question, what is the name of the mutant that Zoe Kravitz plays in X-Men First Class?
Already, I lost this already.
This one, maybe it's a spoiler, but in episode 6, there's a scene that takes place at Electric Ladyland Studios, Jimi Hendrix's famed recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a Jimi Hendrix question. What is track 1 on side 1 of Jimi Hendrix's Electric Ladyland? Or, if that one's a tough question, other option, should you take it, easier question, what's the last track on that album? So you have a choice.
Okay, what the album was called?
Electric Ladyland.
Okay. Was that first? Second?
It was his third album. Third
okay.
and final album before he died.
Question
Question 4. I think you can get this one. I know how big of a Drake fan you are. So, when they shoot the record store scenes, you can see the stacks in the bins, and anyone who's been to a record store knows that stores will categorize their records by genre alphabetically, and if you're special enough, if you're a big enough artist, or if the record store takes this much care, like the dividers that you're flipping through, sometimes it'll just be the letter A or the letter B, or if you're a big enough artist, you get your own.
Sure.
So this artist has his or her own divider where you can see the name clearly displayed in one of the episodes. What artist that has a record bin divider in championship vinyl was the voice behind the spoken word clips on Drake's Nice for What?
Okay.
So you know what voice I'm talking about. I want to know who's representing that those little bits.
Oh, the JT of City Girls, maybe? No.
Oh, you want to answer already?
No.
Okay.
I'm just thinking out loud. But what episode was that in? Is it the TV show or the movie?
The bin dividers are in the TV show. I don't remember if it's 5 or 6, but while I was watching the episodes to prep for the show, I noticed it's
Bastard. Gotta give me some hard ass questions.
Question 5. In what year did the first Technics SL 1200 come out?
Okay.
Good one?
You can continue.
Okay. Question 6. Since David Bowie is such an important artist for Rob, what is David Bowie's real last name?
Oh my god. You're killing me, Edwin. Killing me.
Okay. The ending, it's a series of 4 questions, and this is right in your wheelhouse. There's 4 questions all having to do with your current faves, BTS.
Okay, great.
So I just wanted to check your
Still
fan club membership credentials here. Okay. Question number 7. And I know nothing about BTS, so I had to source these questions from the internet.
Besides being Korean yourself, so how dare you?
Question 7. What do RM's initials stand for? Got that. I could see it on your face. You're like, got this.
It's like, finally I got
Question 8. Who is the only member of BTS who doesn't have pierced ears? Think you might
possibly,
have an answer.
I could maybe get that one.
Question 9. There are 2 possible answers. One of the 2 is acceptable. BTS almost went by what other band name? They were tossing around other ideas for band names, and you just have to name one. Question 10. RM learned English by watching which sitcom?
Okay.
Got that?
Yeah, I could get at least 3 out of 4 of those.
Okay.
The second to last one was kind of tough.
Nicely done.
Thank you for giving me some freebies at the end there, because I don't think your first 6 questions had me stumped there. I'm just here scratching my head over here. So, okay, cool. So, yeah, we are gonna be answering those questions in the next episode, And we will also be writing these questions out on the post of this episode, so you guys don't have to, rewind the podcast and listen to it to get the questions again. So, all right, let me give you your questions, Edwin. And some of them are fairly easy. I think you'll get most of them. So, my first 5 are questions from High Fidelity, the film, and my last 5 are questions from the High Fidelity TV show, and mainly from episodes 1 through 5. So, only the ones that we've covered so far. So I didn't want to throw you a curveball there, Edwin.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So number 1, High Fidelity is the name of a song by what artist?
Okay.
Do you think you might have that one?
Yes, I think I do.
Oh, you got it. Damn it. All right. Number 2, what is the name of Justin and Vince's band?
Oh shoot! I only know them as Justin and Vince. That might stump me.
Okay. You might get this one. Which side 1, track 1 does Barry criticize Rob? Quote, "Oh, that's not obvious enough. How about point of no return on point of no return?"
I think I have that.
Okay.
I think I have that.
Yeah, I know you love that scene, so you probably got that. Number 4, what other film do Lily Taylor, Joan Cusack, and John Cusack also star in?
Okay, that's a great question. Yeah. I have some ideas, but I don't know for sure.
Bit of a tough one. I think you'll get this one, like, hands down, like, bar none. Number 5, who is Barry referencing when he says, "Is it better to burn out than to fade away?"
Yes.
You got that one,
I got
right?
that one.
That's a no-brainer for you. All right, number 6, getting to the TV questions. Okay. What is the title of the song Liam wrote about splitting his record collection with his ex?
That's a great question. Yeah. I'll have to dig deep, but I might be able to get that.
Okay. Number 7. What record does Charisse scold the Shazamer for?
Oh shoot! Yeah,
I can give you a hint.
Oh, okay. I'll
give you a hint now.
It's like a French. Yeah.
Okay, number 8. What is the opening track for Rob's Spotify playlist for Mac? That's a simple one. Could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Think you have it?
I think I might be able to
dig deep.
Trace it back. Yeah.
Okay. Number 9. This is a bit of a tough one. What is the name of Liam Shawcross's 7-inch single? It could be an EP.
The one that they are selling.
Yeah, at the championship vinyl, because I believe it's episode 2 or 3. I think it's 3, where he comes into the store.
Yeah.
And they're like, shut off his music, and then he's like digging through Simon's choices or whatever. Yeah. His Simon's picks, and then he picks up his own record. He's like, "Oh, I see you guys have this." And it's tough. You need to pause it to like look at it. So that's hard.
I'll be lucky if I get 5 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Number 10 is really simple. You probably get this one. Yeah, most definitely. Okay, and it's from episode 6, one of the episodes we're going to be talking about the next episode. So, name one of the quote unicorn records end quote that Rob flips through in episode 5.
Okay, yeah, I got that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess it's from episode 5. All right, so those are the questions that we have compiled for each other.
Good questions.
Yeah, I like your questions a lot too. I probably will not get most of your... Yeah, I'll be lucky to get at least one from 1 to 6. And I know I'll get the BTS at least 3 out of 4. How do you think you'll do on my...
I will say... I think I can get 5 out of the 10, and maybe I'll get lucky and guess right on a couple. Yeah,
you get well, at least gotta throw out a guess, right? Don't leave one blank.
For sure.
You know how to. This guy's Edwin. Edwin's the king of trivia. Him and his significant other own trivia nights at this bar in Costa Mesa. So, okay, cool. So we will get the results for you guys in episode 6. And then you guys get to choose whether we get to choose an album or EP of our choice to talk about, or choose a top 5. Cool. Shall we move on to episode recap?
Yeah.
Awesome. So quickly, before we start episode 5, Uptown, at the end of the episode 4, brings us pretty much to the end of the list of X's structure after Rob visits Mac and gets, asks him the question, and she pretty much didn't get the answer she was looking for, right? And I guess it pretty much mirrors the film when Rob asks Laura who's better in bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Him or Ian? And then she responds, I haven't slept with him yet, right? And then he feels better about himself. He's like, I feel much better now. We hear that that Queen song, We Are the Champ, and he's going like this, like Rocky. And then he's like, I feel so much better, in fact, that I go straight out and sleep with Marie DeSalle, right? So, bit of a scumbag there. But do you like this echoing of the structure of the TV show and the film?
I do. It's a nod to the movie, and it being such a good movie, and I like that it pays homage to it, but it doesn't adhere strictly to it.
Yeah.
It goes its own directions, and I like how certain scenes it'll evoke things from the movie without totally copying it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll drop a line and you expect maybe something to happen, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it subverts, right? Yeah, that's fantastic. And then obviously we don't get that, when she says I haven't slept with him yet, and then we get into the whole Rob was like, what do you think? What do you think? What does he ask Barry? He's like, what would you assume I meant when I said I haven't seen Evil Dead 2 yet? Right? And they get into that whole debate. That was pretty funny. So cool. Episode 5, Uptown, was written by E.T. Feigenbaum and Zoe Kravitz. Directed by Jeffrey Reiner, who has directed at least 3 episodes so far, and he's going to be directing episode 7, 8, and the season finale. Cool. I did not know Zoe Kravitz wrote this episode, which kind of makes sense because she's pretty much the star. It's pretty much a bottle episode between her and Clyde.
Yes.
If you guys don't know what a bottle episode is, it's pretty much the episode of the season where they just stay in one location. I mean, it's kind of a bottle episode. It's not really because they jump around, but we pretty much stay with her and Clyde the whole time, with exception to they do have a top 5 in the beginning, right?
Yes, villains.
Yes, villains. Yes. All right, cool. So, what did you think of this episode in general, Edwin?
I enjoyed it. I liked how it involves Clyde, who you think Clyde might just be a throwaway character, but he ends up, especially in this episode, being an important part.
Right.
You see Rob's feelings toward Clyde, evolve and change. But it was a solid episode. Funny lines, interesting characters that pop up.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw it, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was like, we didn't get to spend time with our record store guys, like we had one scene with them, and then it's mostly a Rob and Clyde episode, and they go off to this place where it seems out of place, Upper West Side, and it felt a little off to me. So, but rewatching it, or at least recapping it, thinking about it later, I kind of like it a lot because it does develop the relationship, and we get to know Clyde a lot better, and we get to know another side of Rob as well. So cool. Let's get into the first scene. Top 5 villains.
Top 5 villains. Let's go with Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs, Drexel Spivey, True Romance, Heath Ledger's The Joker.
Oh my God, can you be any more obvious? Come on now, what you gonna say next? Hitler? Zombies? What about the devil?
The Godfather's Michael Corleone, and Wile E. Coyote.
Solid finish.
So Rob's top 5 villains are number 1, Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. Number 2, Drexel Spivey from True Romance, I believe. The Gary Oldman character, right? When he's in dreads. Number 3, Heath Ledger's Joker. Number 4, Michael Corleone from The Godfather. And number 5, Wile E. Coyote.
And I believe on, was it number 3 or number 4 where Shri says, "Oh, can you be any more obvious?" Making a reference to the movie.
Heath Ledger's Joker.
With a different top 5, but is a nice reference to the movie. What are you going to say next, Hitler? As opposed to, what are you going to say next? What was it? Track 1, Side 1, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Right, yeah.
I thought that was a nice play on the original movie.
Yeah, can you be more obvious? And obviously, they talk about like Tony Soprano and anti-heroes.
Yep.
And Rob's never seen The Sopranos, which is going to be a theme through this show, I believe. So it's my number 2 moment. It's a top moment for me because we get a top 5 here, and it wouldn't be a High Fidelity episode without a top 5, right?
Yeah.
And top moment for you or no?
For sure.
Okay.
Anytime they're in the record store, record store clerks, sure, they know their music, but I just think their pop culture knowledge is very high. And so whether it's books, movies, TV shows, music,
right,
they know their stuff, and they have very definitive opinions on
Sure.
it. So
yeah,
that the fact that they're not debating music, but they're debating movies and TV shows, I think that is true to what being a record store clerk is.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. They're having this debate about heroes and villains and anti-heroes and what makes what. Mm-hmm. And Sharice has this line, "There's no such thing as an anti-hero. That's bullshit that they feed us so that we don't notice that fucking Clint Eastwood is an asshole all the time." I was chuckling at that.
Yeah, it's when she's debating the Michael Corleone choice, right? She's like, how is Michael Corleone a villain? He's the hero of the film, right? And I see where she's coming from, but I also think that being a film student and majoring in screenwriting, I gotta vehemently kind of disagree with her. The fact that anti-heroes do exist, and they are, a staple of not only like literary culture, but obviously like film history. So yeah, I really like that, and I like how they're, like you said, they're talking about movies, whereas maybe in the TV or in the film they talk more about books. Well, they mention books a few more times, which I don't think they mention a book at all in the TV show. They talk more about TV and film, right, to replace the books, because I guess it's a more updated, right, form of pop culture. So cool. Shall we move on to the next scene? Well, sure. I think it's in the same scene, but it's she gets a call from Noreen, played by she gets a call, right?
Yes.
In the record shop, and saying that she's trying to sell some records. And well, do we hear her voice? Because I know Rob's just like, yeah, I'm very interested, right?
Yeah, I don't think you ever
you don't hear her voice. Okay. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So we don't know who it is yet. We just know that Rob gets a phone call. So she doesn't have she needs a ride, and she calls Clyde for a ride. Hey, that rhymed. She calls Clyde for a ride. Not that kind of ride. For a car ride.
Yeah. Well, there's the whole exchange where Shri says, "Oh, in so many words, what douchebag owns a car in New York City?" Kind of changing the words up. And then it immediately cuts to Clyde. And all this time, I feel like the show's setting up Clyde to look like the square, the stiff one, the pushover. Mm-hmm. And so,
is he wearing the sweater vest in this, and when he's talking on the phone, or no?
That's a great
question.
I don't.
I'll go back and look at it
remember.
later, but it seems like you said he's coming out of the dry cleaner, right?
Yeah, and yeah,
That's kind of bougie.
well, the whole thing coming out of the dry cleaner, I thought it showed Clyde's sense of humor. I thought he was being funny when Rob was saying, "Oh, that's very adult of you to get dry cleaning," and he said, "Oh, I remember that feeling as a kid, just wanting so badly to be 18 so that I could finally have pressed shirts." I thought it was funny, and he just kind of was low key funny, but Rob just kind of like, is very dismissive, and Rob's, acting like too cool. She doesn't even get it.
Yeah.
But I thought Clyde was being very clever and being sarcastically humorous.
So, hey, do you feel like going to the Upper West Side?
What's on the Upper West Side?
Central Park, cloisters, some woman selling a private record collection.
Took me for a ride, Rob?
What? No, not at all. I called you because I thought it would be, fun for me and you to hang out again. Okay, fine, yeah, I need a ride.
Yeah, so Rob calls Clyde for a car ride and saying, hey, do you want to hang out? Like trying to nonchalantly trying to pass it off as a hangout. And she finally gives in. She's like, okay, fine, I need a ride. It's cool because he's smart enough to kind of see through that too.
Oh yeah, he's smart enough, which betrays this idea that he's a pushover and he's a square.
Yeah,
but he still likes Rob enough where he's game enough to give her a ride.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, he figures like it's pretty much the only shot I might get to hang out with her. So he's like, yeah, sure. But he doesn't say like, yeah, I'll give you a ride. Like, yeah, he's like he kind of push and pull a little bit, right?
And while they're on the bridge to go get the records, Rob again playing, too cool, mouths help me.
Oh, as the narration,
right? Kind of like looks toward the camera and says, "Help me." I think she feels like she's so much better than him, but Clyde on the surface is one thing, but Clyde's not that bad of a guy, and we'll find out, later in this episode and later in the series that there's a lot more depth to him than Rob necessarily sees at first.
And it's not really fair that she does kind of like prejudge him based on his appearance and
his opinions and his preferences.
Exactly. Yeah. Which we got that from the first episode, right? She's like, it's not about what we're like, it's about what we like, and I guess she's very kind of opinionated on that. So it's cool that they have those differences and we can see them change, right?
Right.
Hopefully, maybe. Okay, so they arrive. Next thing, they arrive in the Upper West Side, and we get to meet Noreen Parker, which is a play on Parker Posey, right? Because she's played by Parker Posey, the infamous 80s girl, right?
Hi.
I'm Rob. I'm here for the records.
Hey, I'm Clyde.
Hi there. Just give me one moment, okay? I just spent the morning dabbling in paper mache.
Oh.
It's all over me. It's Yoko's fault, really. She told me I should try it. I'll just tidy up real quick and...
80s, 90s, yeah.
Right.
She was like the 90s
Right, okay, that's
indie,
true. Yeah.
indie movie star.
I remember her mostly in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
A lot of like rom-com-y kind of teenage coming-of-age movies, right? Was she in any John Hughes movies?
Not that I know,
probably
but
too early,
a lot
right?
of like the Best in Show movies and what was the other one? I'm sure she was in A Mighty Wind and those movies.
Yeah, so I guess brings us to our... Well, I guess she says she's dabbling in paper mache, which I'm glad she didn't say papier-mâché, which would have been super pretentious. But my number 5 moment, the tour through her art gallery condo. Is it a condo or
I'm sure it's
studio
like
apartment?
some kind of brownstone.
Brownstone. It's bigger than that, right? Okay. So yeah, I thought it was cool when they're just taking the tour, and she has like those pieces of like like those little sculptures of her mom. He's like, these are made of what she likes most, and she's like, they're like
the
pills.
pills, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's name dropping Yoko,
Right,
you know,
okay.
Matthew Barney, Damien Hirst. And,
Yeah, it's a very highbrow art district of wherever that is, Upper West Side. I don't know what you even call that.
yeah.
Is that
That's like Manhattan.
Manhattan? Okay. Yeah, I'm not. I've never been to New York, so you've been to New York, right, Edwin?
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
Have you been to that district before?
Upper West Side. Yes, Upper West Side is very, very nice.
Yeah. Do you think that's accurate portrayal of what they're like, or?
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be able to say because I'm not from there, but when I was up in the Upper West Side, yeah, things seemed very, very nice and very posh, so I could see
Very
that.
heightened. Cool. So we get to the whole reason for Rob being there. She's going through the Unicorn record collection. I have those in quotes.
Robert Johnson, original Sun Ra. The Beatles yesterday and today with the Bloody Baby cover. Jeez, these are Unicorn records. Never even seen some of these. Holy shit. An original pressing of The Man Who Sold the World with the drag cover and the misspelled Tony Visconti credit. Holy shit, it's in perfect condition. I've wanted one of these since the 8th grade.
Noreen wants to sell the collection for $20. But before that, did you want to talk about the record collection in general, or did you recognize any of the...
Sure.
Which is part of my trivia question, by the way, so...
I think she mentioned Robert Johnson, original Robert Johnson, Sun Ra, the Beatles yesterday and today with
Okay, you got that question.
Bloody Baby.
I get it, Edwin. You got the question. Okay.
And of course, the
The
David
creme,
Bowie, Man Who Sold the World with the misprinted Tony Visconti credit and all that stuff.
And in drag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, when she pulls it out, and I'm like, you know, as a record collector myself, and I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, actually, I think I actually have that record. I have the 7-inch. I don't have that.
Okay.
The rare record, which I don't know how much that goes for, like thousands of dollars maybe, or how much.
This is the best collection I've ever seen.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I hope you know I can only afford to buy a few of these. I mean, this is...
Like I told you on the phone, I'm only interested in selling the collection as a whole.
Maybe you would consider just selling the Bowie.
It's all or nothing, and I need them out of here by tonight. And the price is $20.
Wow, that's a deal.
I don't understand.
They're my husband's.
I don't know. I was actually going to look it up like on Discogs for one of my trivia questions, but I didn't get around to it.
Thank you for not doing that. That would have been overkill. So yeah, we find out that Noreen wants to sell the collection for $20 to spite her cheating husband.
Side note, I haven't seen the DVD extras of the original movie, but apparently I was just doing some background research for this podcast episode. Apparently Beverly D'Angelo played a woman trying to sell her soon-to-be ex-husband's record collection, but that scene was cut from the original movie.
Oh.
So I thought that was so this Parker Posey character, I'm sure, is drawing from
The Beverly D'Angelo
that Beverly
character.
D'Angelo character that was cut from the theatrical.
So you're telling me that this entire episode is based on a deleted scene?
Quite possibly.
Yeah,
Quite
okay.
possibly. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is a fun piece of trivia. So we find out that her cheating husband has been cheating on her with a 23-year-old Pilates instructor.
Of course.
And she wants to sell his most prized collection for $20 and frame the $20 bill as an art piece. And this entire scene made my top 3 moment, my number 3 moment, just for the fact that, you get to see Rob rifling through the collection, and he's very fetishistic.
Yeah, when Parker Posey's character says in a very creepy way, "This'll be my greatest work of art yet," it freaked me out, and it made me think like, that sounds really familiar, and I'm like, where did that line come from? I haven't pinpointed yet, but it sounds like it could have come from like Kevin Spacey's John Doe character in Seven. Something kind of creepy, freaky like that.
Yeah.
You know, some kind of like
of
psychotic.
Yeah.
I'm an artist. And mere destruction wouldn't imbue the same poetic vengeance. When that perfidious shitheel comes to collect his precious records, what he'll find in their place is a framed, perfectly crisp $20 bill. I already bought the frame.
Moving on to... So, they get out of the situation. Rob pretty much says she's interested, but she needs a car, right? So she lies to get out of there. She wants... sidebar with Clyde saying she wants to go to the Carlisle, which I believe Noreen told them where they were. She was talking about him. Yeah. And then said like he's staying at the Carlisle with some 23-year-old. They're drinking like Beefeater, Vespers or something. What is that? What is it? You know?
I think
it's gin.
It's
cocktail.
A gin cocktail.
Okay.
But before we move on to the Carlisle,
sure. Okay.
I think that scene poses an important question for going through the records. It's like, what would you do if you were in the same situation? You can get this amazing collection of records for $20. What would you do?
Yeah. No, that's a great point because, I'm sure both of us can relate to that and just kind of like, you know, to the average person when they see like a scene where a character has access to like a boatload of money, like a briefcase full of money. Sure. This is like the equivalent of that to record collectors, right? It's like, what would you do? Obviously, in our heads, we're like, take it, like get the hell out of there, just give her the 20 and get out of there.
Right.
You know,
it's
if you're like,
it's like that philosophical question. Would you take a briefcase of $1 million if some random person you'll never ever meet and you never knew in some remote part of the world will die? You know, one of those types of questions.
It is a very interesting philosophical moral dilemma. You're right, but in this case, it's the stakes are lower. She's just thinking about the guy. He's like, this guy, this is like his prized possession. Like, I don't know anybody. She's just thinking about the other person, right? In this case,
you know what? That's a good point. Is it about the other person and how much the records will mean to him, or is it the records themselves? Like the records themselves merit more respect than just being acquired as part of some revenge plot.
I think it's a bit of both, and as well as she strikes me as the kind of a person that's kind of like into karma. Yeah. Like thinks about like the vibe of his situation. Like if I do this, like what's gonna happen in my future or something. Yeah. She's thinking of like in the long term. She's more of like she's a person like that. Like would buy like crystals for ambiance or something.
I could see that definitely. I also think that she's definitely a music fan, music lover, record lover, where the records themselves have a lot of meaning and they have a lot of intrinsic value, and she wouldn't want to acquire them so cheaply monetarily, but also get them so cheaply experientially.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she said she wanted that record since she was in seventh grade. Yeah. And so it means a lot to her. And,
8th grade, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, 8th grade. And a lot of record collectors hunting for that, those records that they've always wanted, they can remember the journey that it took to get that. Yeah. The store, the time of day, maybe even the month, of the year that they got it. It means a lot to them. And for all of this just to fall in her lap so easily.
Yeah, too good to be true.
I think she thinks, these records have more meaning and more importance in that. Right. I didn't really earn these, you know.
Sure.
And I think she felt uncomfortable about that.
Yeah.
Along with the owner who, as a record owner of many records herself, she would have felt bad of, oh, what if this happened to me? I'm sure there's an element of that, but I think just the records themselves, she had respect for.
Yeah, exactly. And you could tell, like, when she's, thumbing through them, just like the joy in her face, like oh my god, like whoa, like every record she looked at, she was just like flabbergasted, But let's put a pin in that because there's more to talk about that later when when it all goes down. So,
Rob,
Yeah.
just take the records. The guy is obviously a scumbag. Okay, so just take him. Otherwise, this guy from Tough Trade.
It's top grade. It's
Look,
top grade.
either way. Fuck, I have got to pee. I got to ask to
Look,
use the
we don't
bathroom.
know for sure he's a scumbag. He could be a pediatrician or a firefighter or the guy who invented the slinky. He could be a great man. We have no idea who he is.
You want to go down to the Carlisle, ask this guy if he invented the slinky?
yeah, in that conversation with Clyde, she's talking about, she wants to go to the Carlisle, and she's like, again, she's like, what if this guy, he's a great man, what if he invented the slinky, right? Which is one of the quotes I wrote down. He's like, who cares? And Clyde's just like trying to reason, right? Like, but yeah, again, like you said, you could tell it means a lot to her because she keeps offering, like, I'll give you $1,000 for this record alone. How about just like $500 for this Bowie record? She's like, it's all or nothing, pretty much, right? You could tell, like, she really wants to, like, earn it almost, which is kind of weird if you think, like, I'm like the opposite. I'm like, oh, I want a good deal. So, okay, cool. So let's move to the bar at the Carlisle.
Mm-hmm.
So they find a man, like, instantly, who orders a champagne and a Beefeater Vespa.
Well, before that, I thought it was funny. Okay, they're scanning the bar. Just got to find a rich old guy with an age of inappropriate date. And everyone in that bar is an old guy with a young girl. I thought that was funny.
Okay, I didn't catch that. Okay, so yeah, they find him right instantly. Well, when I guess the Beefeater Vespa was the giveaway, right? So they find I think they're talking about the architecture a little, like, vaguely.
Oh, and the
And then-
wallpaper
yeah.
and all that.
And then they spark a conversation with Tim. We get to meet this guy. I forget who he's played by. I don't want to look him up. So, he regurgitates trivia for the hotel architecture, saying that, like, Madonna and Bowie were here. He once met Mick Jagger and told him he saved his life. He met Paul and Linda McCartney. And he's just going on and on and on, right?
He just comes off as a very patronizing know-it-all.
Yeah.
Like when Clyde opens up conversation, oh, can you tell me about this wallpaper? And Tim's like, oh my God, you're serious. Like, you don't know this. And he goes on to mansplain
Right.
all
Yeah,
the,
that's a good...
the history of the bar and the artist that did the paintings on the walls and this and that. I thought, yeah.
Right. And then, as you said, he continues mansplaining into a kind of a debate about the release date of Wings Over America live album, which I believe Rob says it was released in 76, and he says it's 77, something like that, right?
Yeah.
But the whole time, Rob's just like rolling her eyes, like this fucking guy.
Bowie was living up here when he wrote Never Let Me Down.
Really?
Oh man, I love that
Prince
album.
was
No one
here
knows
when he
that.
freaked out and recalled the Black Album the first time in 1987.
Oh yeah, that's the album he thought was evil, right?
Yeah, it's like some kind of candy flip or something like that. And he thought the album was evil, literally.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
I just said that.
He just keeps going on. I was like, I just said that, dude, right?
Yeah, he's not letting anyone get in
Yeah.
a word in.
And then even like the date, just saying there, like, I think they kind of make fun of it later. Like she looks like she's like mouthing "help me" or something.
Yeah. Or blink twice or something like that.
Yeah, and then like I guess the cherry topper of the end of that conversation, Tim warns Clyde like, "Hey, it's all fun now, man. Like she's a firecracker, isn't she?" He's like,
Well, that's because he got all hurt.
yeah, he got all butthurt over the
because he got shown up by Rob.
right, yeah. He's an owner of a record store, so you wouldn't want to mess with that knowledge. Anyway, that was my top moment of my number 4.
Yeah.
I love that whole conversation.
they walk out. Yeah, the whole when they're talking about what happened and talking about Tim's girlfriend and all that. And I forget who says it. I'm pretty sure it's Rob. She said, "Oh, that's like being that was like being a woman in a Michael Bay movie." I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Well, I didn't write it down anyway. I should have listened to that. Cool. Shall we move on to back at Noreen's?
Yes.
Okay. So Rob ends up turning down the record collection. She goes on to tell her that she thinks music should be shared by everyone, like Wi-Fi.
I don't know. I don't really think I'm qualified to decide who deserves to get what they get or whatever.
Well, I respect your integrity, my dear, but the lines in this case are quite clear. My ex is a bad guy.
In the midst of that, Clyde, who's been forgetting to use the restroom this whole time. I don't know, this guy has a really strong bladder or a urethra or something. He's holding this pee in for a long time. He had a whiskey too, so I don't know.
A cheap whiskey.
A cheap whiskey, right, yeah.
Well, until Tim started paying for the drink.
And Rob's like, top shelf. So he's like, can I use the John? And then he's like, I don't know, can you? I thought that was kind of hilarious.
Well,
I
think
when
that
people
was...
say that. It's like, may I? They're trying to get you to say may I, because that's the wrong grammatic
I think that's
annotation, right?
Yeah, I think that was
Or
the point where they both lost sympathy, or at least that's where...
Who lost sympathy?
I'd say both Rob, and especially Clyde. Like, she came across as a very, nice, sensitive person, but when she got all dismissive and patronizing, I think that was the point where Clyde's like, screw it. This lady doesn't deserve anything. Yeah. And maybe that's the point at which she stole the record. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
I'm sorry.
But it's all right.
But, yeah, I kind of took it as that was the point where, like, okay, screw this lady.
Yeah, you're right.
And screw everyone involved, because they already saw how much of a douchebag Tim was at the bar.
Yeah.
And so there's no one good in this situation.
Yeah. They're both losers in the situation, right? So Clyde drops off Rob. They're in front of her apartment. They're having a nice moment.
Not to get all something, but I wanted to say that I had a really good time today.
Yeah.
With you. I wasn't sure what it was going to be like hanging out again. I thought it was going to be weird and awkward because of the whole sex thing. I just wanted to say that it was really fun. That's all I wanted to say. Jesus.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Rob reveals that she had fun spending time with Clyde the whole day, and I thought that was a cool little moment, quiet moment between them, because it did seem like they had a lot of fun and they had a lot of chemistry in the whole, entire situation. So,
check that out.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah.
What?
What? Okay. Yeah, I pilfered that.
Holy shit! What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
I've never seen anybody look at anything the way you look at that record. I felt like it was important you should have it. I was like,
oh my God.
Clyde reveals that he pilfered the Bowie record, and saying he never saw anyone look at anything the way she looked at that record before.
Yes.
And she's like, oh my God. You can tell she's like speechless. She's like, I've wanted one of these since I was in the 8th grade. And she's just like, that was the capper right there. Like
That was a very smooth move by Clyde. And the way to Rob's heart is definitely through her record collection.
Exactly. He's in. You can tell, like, you're right. And that is my number one moment, just because it was just not only such a great, like, moment on its own, that he stole the Bowie record, but I think it's just a defining character moment for them, both of them. And it really, like, hit me hard. Like, I was like, oh shit, like, Clyde has been, you've been spending time with Clyde and Rob this whole time, and then they've been getting along, they've been having so much fun, and then he like pulls out the record, and it's just like such a great capper to the nice day they spent together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot happened in that scene, and I think some of the best acting in the series happened in that scene. A lot of the looks and the facial gestures and just interplay between the actors was great. It really stood out. You see a lot about their characters. You see Rob getting a little vulnerable and showing some of her feelings for Clyde. You see Clyde is obviously a good guy, thoughtful guy. Not only did he do something to make Rob happy, but he still left $20 behind.
Oh,
which
right,
is,
yeah, he does reveal
so it's not like he outright stole it. He seems kind of like a guy that might have been a Boy Scout or something.
Yeah.
So he still leaves behind what Noreen was asking for the whole collection, you know, but just for one record. And before the pulling out of the record, one of my top moments was Clyde showing that he's not just an oaf. He gets a little deep. You know, he says, it seemed like you were thinking if they can... Well, he notices that Rob's, you know, feeling a bit down or a bit somber, and he says, oh, it seemed like you were thinking if they can take this guy's records, then you're wondering, when are they coming for mine? And then he lightens it right after, but, you know, he has more depth of thought and emotion than Rob sees, and might have even been portrayed in earlier episodes. You know, he's just kind of like this square blind date kind of guy, but you know, he's showing a lot more depth in this scene especially.
And it's something that Rob might have overlooked if they never got to hang out again, right? He did end up just being a one-night stand. She would have never seen the side, so it's almost like, hey, you know, I just asked you for a ride and we got to hang out by happenstance, by chance, and you know, I get to see this whole side to you. So it's almost like a very cool, almost like a serendipitous moment, you know, like, again, another John Cusack movie, Serendipity, right? I haven't seen that, but so the episode closes, Rob gets dropped off, and she's like, what the fuck was that? All right.
Well, before that, Clyde, who obviously has strong feelings for Rob, thinks it's going well when, you know, Rob's saying all these nice things, and she says, oh, that was badass-ish, you know, that was a badass-ish move. And he thinks, okay, here's my in, and
maybe she'll ask me out,
and okay, this is gonna go somewhere. And my favorite scene, he looks at her very longingly, and I thought his facial acting was really, really great. But then she responds very casually, like, okay, see ya, bye, you know, without any very abrupt ending. And then he's like, yeah, what was that?
Right, okay.
And then he drives away, and then it goes
she
to
goes
Rob.
to what the fuck was that? Okay. I completely overlooked that when I was writing the recap, but no, that's a good point, because it just goes to show you good character moments between both of them. They're in completely different headspaces, right? He had this kind of underlying, I don't want to say ulterior motive, but that was one of the possibilities in his head. Like, I did this so I can hang out with you. And then for her, it was just like, hey, I just happened to call you for a ride. And then it turned out that we had a lot of fun. So she was just thinking about, okay, I'll see you later kind of thing. Whereas he was like, I want to continue this. And so they're just not on the same page at that moment.
I think they're opposites of each other, because I feel like Clyde is very earnest, wears his heart in his sleeve, and has to play cool and casual as a coping mechanism when feelings aren't reciprocated.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Rob is the other way, where Rob is very cool and casual, and then afterward gets real with what she's
she
feeling.
needs to have her barriers breaking down.
Right, and so...
And plus, she's going through a rough, breakup too, so...
Clyde's nature is the opposite of Rob's, but Clyde's defense mechanisms is Rob's kind of standard motion, but underneath Rob's coolness is earnestness, where she...
So they're pretty much opposites.
She recognized something, like, oh, there's something there, but it was hidden underneath.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll pop by the shop sometime.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
All right.
It's a great character study, and I think that's one of the reasons why this episode turned out to be one of my favorites. Like, out of nowhere, like, low-key, just, like, I didn't really like it at first, and then now, like, talking about it, obviously, and when I was recapping, I was like, wow, this has some great character moments, and I ended up liking it a lot. So, final thoughts and star rating for you, Edwin?
I give it 4.5.
Oh, awesome. Great. Yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I originally thought I was going to give it like a 3, so that's already like a huge step up, a full star. So do you see that relationship moving forward again in future episodes?
I feel like the ending is implying that there's going to be more. It's not like Clyde is going to disappear.
Right.
He's obviously going to do something important.
It was the first episode we've seen him in since episode 1, but again, we got to spend the entire episode with him. So, yeah, that's a great sign that we're going to see him again. And the whole episode pretty much articulated to us that they have good chemistry.
Yeah.
So obviously it would be a shock if we didn't see him again.
Right.
Cool. All right. So that is the end of our episode. Stay tuned for our next episode where we talk about episode 6, Weird But Warm. We will also be giving you the results of our 10 question trivia contest. So please let us know what you'd like us to do. All right. So thank you, Edwin, for joining me. And you can listen to past episodes at highfidelitytv.wordpress.com. Email us at highfidelitytvpodcast@protonmail.com. And follow us on Instagram at highfidelitytvpodcast. You can follow Edwin on Instagram at
BEdwinLee.
At Bedwin Lee. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
We passed up on the stair. We spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. He said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke into his eyes, I thought